Now, President No Moo-hyun of South Korea. I spoke with him at Blair House in Washington earlier today. Mr. President, welcome.
네, 안녕하십니까.
How do you do?
Yesterday, after your meeting, you and President Bush said that you would not tolerate nuclear weapons in North Korea. What exactly does that mean?
플루토늄을 재처리.
It means that they will not be allowed to reprocess the plutonium to make new nuclear weapons. And it also means that if they had produced any nuclear weapons before, they will have to dismantle them.
Do you believe they have nuclear weapons right now?
그 점에 관해서는 여러 가지.
There are many different ideas on that question, but as for the Korean government's official position, we cannot verify right now. We have not verified it as of yet.
So what are you going to do about it? About finding out about what they do have?
그 점에 관해서는
On this issue, the Korean government and the United States government will do everything in their power to verify the intelligence, verify that proposition. And if their statement that they have nuclear weapons was made just before the negotiations, so we need to verify whether this statement is true or not. And we will resort to many channels to verify whether they already have nuclear weapons or not.
Let's assume that you are able to verify that they do in fact have such weapons. Then how do you go about getting North Korea to get rid of them?
지금은
North Korea and the United States are still continuing their negotiations, and I don't think the door to the trilateral talks have been closed yet. And in the midst of such negotiation efforts, I don't think it's a wise idea to hypothesize the worst case scenario and to talk about what to do about it. And doing so will pour cold water over the negotiation efforts of the parties, and I will be very cautious in saying those words.
Yesterday, President Bush said there had been progress. What did he mean by that?
그동안에
Up to this point, there have been some media reports about there being some disagreements between Korea and the United States over how to resolve the North Korean nuclear issue. And such media reports have been posing some difficulties in resolving the North Korean nuclear issue. But yesterday, President Bush and I agreed on the principle that this matter should be resolved peacefully, and in the course of such efforts, we will coordinate closely and cooperate closely with each other. And I think President Bush meant this.
Do you and your fellow citizens of South Korea fear that North Korea might use nuclear weapons against your country sometime?
실제로 모든
I guess we cannot exclude any possibilities at this point of time. But right now, I think North Korea is using this as a bargaining chip to secure guarantees for their securities and to receive economic assistance from the outside world. But there is a possibility that if negotiations don't work out well, they might even export the nuclear weapons they might have. And also, if they feel their regime is threatened, then I think they might even use their nuclear weapons that they might have. But however, I don't think that they will use nuclear weapons to preemptively strike South Korea.
North Korea continually says, Mr. President, that they fear the United States. They fear an attack from the United States. Is that justified?
그것을 정당하다고
I don't think I can judge whether or not that statement can be justified or not, but it is true that they are fearful of the United States, and I am sure that the Iraqi war have increased their fears against the United States.
Because the message they received from the Iraqi war is, you may be next, North Korea?
이라크 다음에는 북한이라는
Rather than getting the message that they might be next after Iraq, I think they realized and they witnessed the tremendous war capabilities of the United States, and that's why they are fearful now.
큰 두려움을 가지게 되었을 것입니다.
Do you believe this fear helps the situation in terms of solving it peacefully with North Korea, or hurts it?
저는 도움이
I think there is a bigger possibility of this factor being a helpful one towards a peaceful resolution.
Do you believe that the United States, China, and others, as well as South Korea, should find ways to give North Korea what it wants in exchange for its dismantling whatever nuclear program it has?
북한이 앞으로 어떤
It is
선택을
unpredictable what course of action North Korea will take in the coming days, but no government has a policy that can never be changed. They can never be unchanged. And depending on the circumstances or conditions, any government's policy can change, I think. And when Korea, China, Japan, and the United States offers what North Korea wants, maybe North Korea's attitude may change in the future. And that is if the North Korea receives security guarantees, and if it receives an opportunity to reform and open up its economy, then there is a high likelihood that it will be willing to renounce its nuclear program.
아주 높다고 생각합니다.
I take it you would support that course of action?
그렇습니다.
That's right.
There are some people in the United States who say that would be nuclear blackmail. North Korea says, we have nuclear weapons. If you don't give us what we want, we will use them. And that's not a way to conduct international relations. How do you respond to that, sir?
그렇습니다.
Yes, I think it is against the moral principles of the international community to relent to any threats, and especially from the United States perspective, it's a matter of pride to bend to North Korea's threats. I understand that. But it is a usual tactic for the negotiating parties to resort to bluffs or exaggerations, and I think it's quite common to arrive at compromise through giving and taking.
There have been reports, Mr. President, that there are some officials in the U.S. government, not the President, but others in the high levels of the U.S. government, who believe the only way North Korea will ever agree to getting rid of its nuclear program is by changing the regime in North Korea. Do you agree with that?
미국 내에서 일부 그런 의견이 있다는
I am aware that
말씀도
such
알고
opinions
있습니다.
exist in
그러나
the United States,
저는 그것이
but I don't
정부의
think it's the official
공식적
stance
입장으로
adopted by the U.S.
결정되지
government.
않았다고
And in resolving the North Korean nuclear issue, maybe removing the North Korean regime is a possibility, but also making North Korean regime change is a possibility. And South Korea, since removing North Korean regime to resolve this nuclear issue may entail such great risks for South Korea as well, we think it's safer to lead North Korea to reform and open up itself. I think this is what the United States did to China in helping China to open up in the 70s, and I want this history to be repeated on the Korean Peninsula.
Did you express this belief to President Bush?
네.
Yes.
And how did he respond?
여러 가지 얘기들을 서로 많이
Well, we had an
나누었습니다.
exchange of views on many topics and many subjects, and I can't really tell on which specific items that we reached agreement on or not. But comprehensively, we agreed on the principle of resolving this issue through peaceful means, and I think President Bush and myself agreed to the foregoing means, the foregoing approach to the North Korean nuclear issue.
Did you specifically ask President Bush to ask his folks to quit talking about a military solution to the problem in North Korea?
그런 부탁을 하진 않았어요.
No, I didn't ask him such a request.
Would it be correct to read your position, however, that this is not helpful when Americans talk about possibly solving this problem militarily?
조금 길게 답변하겠습니다.
Well, I'll give you a long version answer to the question. Korea has suffered a lot of tribulations and trials over the past several hundreds of years, and our people have been devastated by a war half a century ago. And thanks to the support of the United States and thanks to our own efforts, we have reached the threshold of prosperity. Another war on the Korean Peninsula means that we will lose everything that we have achieved so far, and we will revert back to our dire past. And we have not recovered completely from the fratricidal war that happened 50 years ago, and another such war between brothers and sisters will take longer for us to recover from the wounds. and we may never fully recover from such a wound. We want to do everything we can to pursue the path to a peaceful resolution. And when we have exhausted all the efforts, then at that point we will consult with the United States on the next course of action.
최선을 다해보자.
President Bush has in the past referred to North Korea as part of an axis of evil. How do you see North Korea?
북한은 너무 낡은 체제를 고집하고
I think North Korea is insisting on an obsolete regime, and the values that it pursues are not in the interest of its people, and its behavior and its demands are not those that can be accepted by the international community. And I